Alright, starting chapter 6 of The Eternal Ones by Kirsten. And also, I'm an idiot. In the past videos, I was looking at this, the way it looks on the screen, I was like, oh, it's backwards. You'd think I'd never taken a selfie before. You can read it. You know, my dad told me when I got old, I'd start to forget really simple things, like how to spell of. I'd be spelling it O-V, something really stupid. He was right. Anyways, side note. So, based on the description of how Haven looks, I was like, I know I've seen a face that would fit this before. If you look up on Instagram, or even on Google, because some of her pictures are on Google, it's just Queen of _ Freckles. She is gorgeous. Obviously, I don't know the author of this book, and I don't know the Queen of Freckles, who has the Instagram account, so maybe neither of them would agree, but she is gorgeous, and she has dark colored eyes, and she has freckles, and then she has the a lot of times she has just the natural, you know, textured curly black hair, and it's so cute. And oh my goodness, now she doesn't have a pug nose. I looked up what that meant on Google because I was like, what's a pug nose? And apparently is a short nose that kind of tilts up in the front. She doesn't really have that, but if you look at her side profile, her nose does just slightly kind of curve up at the tip, so I'm like, you know, it'll do. She's so cute. So cute. And I think that's how I picture Haven looking. That's the only character I really have okay. I kind of picture Bo looking like Jamie Campbell Bower, but I can't remember if they said he was blonde. Yeah, they did. He is blonde. He is blonde. But I have no idea about the rest of the characters, just those two. Maybe they'll describe them when we get there. Anyways. Again, though, this is a book. I don't know if that's what she's supposed to look like, but it fits. She's got the spackling of freckles, the wild curly black hair, dark eyes, and then not a pug nose, but it kind of curves up. And she's cute. Anyways. But it's a book. You can picture her however you want. But if you want some way to picture her, that is my suggestion. Alright, chapter 6. In the town below, a half-dozen cars and twice as many pickup trucks had converged on a gas station. Kids still dressed in their church clothes milled about the parking lot, sipping well-disguised beers and smoking hand-rolled cigarettes. It was a Sunday tradition in Snope City. Later, after the sun sank behind the mountains, the same vehicles would be seen cruising downtown in endless loops that could leave an observer feeling dizzy and disoriented. Though she could see it all from her bedroom window, Haven had never taken part in the rituals. She pretended she didn't care, but the truth was, she'd never been invited. Somewhere in that crowd was Morgan Murphy, the girl responsible for making Haven an outcast 8 years earlier. The two had been best friends until the day Haven had fainted in front of the entire 4th grade. When she had awoken, she'd told Morgan about the boy named Ethan whom she missed more than anything, and the visions that could overpower her at the very worst moments. Haven watched the confusion creeping across Morgan's face, and she knew she should have heeded Imogene's warnings and never mentioned the things she saw. But Haven didn't stop. Angry and hurt, she kept on talking until Morgan knew the whole story. No one said a thing to her face. She was Imogen Snively's granddaughter, after all. But the sleepover invitation stopped coming. Other kids whispered that she was crazy, that she'd said dirty things. Even grown-ups who might have known better looked at her with fear in their eyes. That's some bullshit. And that would definitely happen in real life. At Imogene, I looked up how to pronounce that too. I thought it was Imogene, but it's Imogene. At Imogene's insistence, Haven was forced to spend 2 afternoons each week in Dr. Tidmore's office. Her father resisted, but her mother agreed, hoping the new pastor might help them make sense of the things Haven said. Eager to fit into his adopted community, Dr. Tidmore had quickly won the hearts and minds of Snope City. His fiery sermons reminded the town's old folks of the ones they had heard in their youth, and it was a testament to Tidmore's popularity that only a few months after his arrival, no one seemed to mind that he was a Yankee. Tall and gangly, with a thinning patch of red hair and a face that made up in nose what it lacked in chin, Dr. Tidmore, I love that, Dr. Tidmore sat at his desk, quietly scribbling notes as Haven talked. Away from the pulpit, he was soft-spoken and kind, and it wasn't long before he had coaxed Haven into repeating the words that had caused her so much trouble. When she did, he didn't seem shocked. Haven had expected the preacher to gasp or grimace or launch into prayer. Instead, he calmly rose from his chair and came around his big oak desk to give Haven's shoulder a reassuring squeeze. And when Haven had dissolved into tears of relief and embarrassment, the squeeze had become a hug. "I'm sorry you're having such a hard time," Dr. Tidmore had told Haven once her tears had dried. "From what I've heard about you, I can tell you're a very special girl, and special people aren't always appreciated in small towns like Snope City. But mark my words, Haven, one day you're going to find a place where you'll be admired for being different. I know for a fact that you have a great life ahead of you, as long as we can get these visions to stop." "What do you think is causing them?" Haven asked. "I don't know," Haven had asked. Sorry, this is past tense. "I don't know," Dr. Tidmore admitted, "but they aren't good or wholesome, that much is certain. But we're not going to let anything like a little fainting stand in the way of your wonderful future, are we, Haven?" "I guess not," Haven had murmured half-heartedly as she stared at the floor. "Oh, come now," the preacher had said, taking her chin and lifting it until her eyes met his. "What's with all the doom and gloom? I'm here to help you. So what do you say? Can I help you, Haven?" "Yes, you can help me," Haven had told him, feeling more hopeful than she had in ages. Now we're back to present tense, I think. Oh, maybe not. Haven's grandmother wasn't satisfied with Dr. Tidmore's tender-hearted approach to the problem. It was only a few days later that she delivered her own verdict. Haven was the victim of a demon, she announced to anyone who would listen, and the affliction was a sign. An innocent child should never have drawn such a powerful fiend. The sins of her father were being visited upon her. Imogene instructed the town to pray for Haven, but she warned there would be no salvation until her son-in-law examined his own soul. Ernest Moore, she said, had given Satan access to his own daughter's heart. God, I can just hear people believing that. Oh, man, growing up in church, man. This stuff is real. Not the demon possession thing, but the people believing this. That's when Haven began to hear the rumors about Veronica Cabe. The woman was the cashier at her father's hardware store, a buxom redhead who'd snuck Haven chocolates whenever her parents weren't watching. During the hours Haven had spent hanging out in the shop, she'd seen Veronica laugh a little too loudly at her father's corny jokes, and she'd watched Veronica's eyes trail Ernest from the paint aisle to the nail bins and back again. Everyone in Snope City could see that Veronica Cabe had a crush on her father. "Veronica likes you," Haven had once teased her father as he drove her to school. "Oh yeah?" Ernest Moore had responded in utter surprise. "What makes you think that?" "She looks at you like she wants to eat you." "Does she now?" Haven's father had said after a hearty laugh. "Well, I'm pretty sure you're imagining things, Missy. Besides, Veronica's smarter than that. Everyone knows I'm a happily married man." Now in the evenings, after she'd been put to bed, Haven listened to the muffled sounds of her father arguing with and her mother weeping. She knew people were saying that something had happened between her father and Veronica. Though her father swore he was innocent, the town had turned against him. The scandal led Veronica to flee Snope City in shame, and few people shopped at the Moore's store anymore. They'd travel all the way to Unicoi for a pack of nails or a can of paint. Money was scarce and the bills couldn't be paid, and thanks to Imogene Snively, the whole town believed that Ernest Moore's sins had brought Satan to Tennessee. Once the house was dark and silent, Haven practiced controlling her visions. The very first night she had heard her parents arguing, she had whispered one last goodbye to Ethan, and then set to locking him out of her head. She learned to empty her thoughts the moment she felt the hot flush begin to creep up her legs. She battled the visions whenever they appeared, and prayed on her knees that they wouldn't return. Sorry. Yawn. Haven worked hard, rushing to cure herself before the devil could destroy her family. Eventually, her other world grew fainter and fainter until it disappeared altogether. She'd almost managed to forget Ethan's face when she came home from school one afternoon to find Imogene packing her things in a suitcase. Ernest Moore was dead, and her mother was missing. Imogene had been given custody of Haven, and the girl was moving to her grandmother's house. That's horrible. Oh, I forgot that part. That's so sad. All right. That was chapter 6.